Once upon a time, there lived a couple who had been married for years without a child. Odinika, the husband, was desperate to have children, but as time passed, his frustration turned into cruelty. Every day, his wife, Ikin, woke up to his harsh words, reminding her of her inability to conceive. His insults and ridicule became unbearable, draining her spirit. One morning, as she quietly ate breakfast, Odinika stormed into the room, his face twisted with anger. "Look at you, devouring the offspring of another. Your mates are having babies, yet here you are, eating eggs you can't even lay." Ikin's hands trembled as she pushed her plate aside. His words cut deep, but this was nothing new. Her mind drifted back to a few weeks ago when they had visited the hospital, hoping for a solution. After several fertility tests, the doctors gave her devastating news: she had fibroids. The only chance she had of conceiving was to undergo surgery before considering IVF. Heartbroken, she had approached her husband, pleading for support. "Do you think I'm a money-making machine?" he spat. "Your mates carry babies, while you carry diseases." His words crushed her, but she was not surprised. Odinika had never been a source of comfort. Still, she refused to give up. Determined to raise the money herself, Ikin took on multiple jobs: washing clothes, cleaning houses, and even working as a nanny for a baby whose mother had died during childbirth. The baby's father, Uchenna, was a busy man who trusted Ikin to care for his child. At first, it was painful, holding and feeding another woman's baby when she longed for her own. But over time, the baby's giggles and tiny fingers wrapped around hers softened her heart. One evening, Uchenna returned home to find Ikin rocking the baby to sleep. "You have the heart of a mother," he said warmly. Ikin smiled sadly. A mother with no child of her own. Uchenna met her gaze, sympathy in his eyes. "A child is not just born from the womb, but from love and care. You are a mother in every way that matters." His words warmed her heart, but deep down, they could not erase the years of pain. That night, as she returned home, she found Odinika waiting. His eyes burned with anger. "Where are you coming from?" he demanded. "From work," she answered quietly. He scoffed. "Work? Or your lover's house?" Ikin frowned in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me," he shouted. "I've heard the gossip. You spend all day in another man's house, taking care of his child, and you expect me to believe nothing is going on." Ikin's heart pounded. "Uchenna is my boss. I take care of his baby, and that is all." Odinika laughed bitterly. "So now you defend him? You have time to care for another man's child, yet you cannot give me mine? Maybe if you stopped playing mother to someone else's son, you'd have one of your own." Tears welled in Ikin's eyes. "I'm doing this for us, Odinika. I work tirelessly to raise money for my surgery, for the IVF that costs so much." "Shut up," he roared. "I am your husband, and I will not have my wife running around like a shameless woman. You will quit that job immediately, and that is final." Ikin stared at him, stunned. "Quit and do what?" "Sit here and endure your insults every day. If you don't leave that job," he threatened, "then get ready to leave my house." Her heart pounded. She had sacrificed everything for him, yet it was never enough. That night, she made a difficult decision: she would quit. But the next day, when she told Uchenna, he pleaded with her to stay. "My son is already fond of you," he said, offering a generous salary increase. It was an opportunity she couldn't ignore. With this money, she could afford her surgery much sooner. However, when she returned home, her world shattered. A strange woman sat comfortably on her couch, rubbing her swollen belly. Odinika stood beside her, arms crossed. "This is Amaka," he said coldly. "She's carrying my child." Ikin's breath caught in her throat. "Your child?" "Yes," he sneered. "Since you failed me as a wife, I found someone else. A complete woman, whose womb isn't filled with disease." Ikin trembled. After years of enduring his cruelty, this betrayal was beyond anything she had imagined. Amaka smirked. "I'm already 6 months along," she said smugly. The truth hit Ikin like a blow. While she had struggled day and night to raise money for her surgery, Odinika had already moved on. With newfound strength, she picked up her phone and called Uchenna. "I'll take the job," she said, her voice steady. Odinika exploded with rage. "You dare choose him over me?" "You chose first," she replied, her voice firm. Enraged, Odinika threw her out. With nowhere else to go, she arrived at Uchenna's house, suitcase in hand. She explained everything, and without hesitation, he welcomed her in. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Uchenna encouraged her to go ahead with the surgery, even offering financial help. But Ikin refused. She had fought too hard to accept charity. With her increased salary, she knew she would afford the operation in a few months. One afternoon, she received a shocking call. Odinika had gone to her family home to demand a refund of the bride price. Her mother was furious. He tossed the money on the table, as if you were a commodity to be returned. Ikin took a deep breath. Let him go, Mama. He made his choice, and I've made mine. Months later, the day of her surgery arrived. Uchenna held her hand as she was wheeled into the operating room. But something unexpected happened. The doctors discovered she was pregnant. The fibroids had hidden the baby all along. Ikin woke up to the sound of a baby's cries. Uchenna sat beside her, holding a tiny infant in his arms. You're a mother, Ikin, he said, his voice filled with joy. Tears streamed down her face. A daughter? He nodded. A miracle. In that moment, every insult, every heartbreak, every tear she had shed faded away. She had been carrying a child all along. Meanwhile, in another part of the hospital, Odinika wept. Amaka, the woman he had praised, had lost their baby. The very son he had mocked Ikin for not giving him was gone. News of Ikin's miracle baby spread quickly. Shame consumed Odinika. He rushed to her hospital room, falling to his knees. Ikin, please. I was blind. I was a fool. Give me another chance. She looked at him calmly. I forgave you the day you threw me out, but forgiveness doesn't mean a second chance. Odinika's shoulders slumped. He had destroyed his own home. Defeated, he walked away. Over time, Uchenna and Ikin's bond deepened. He was kind, patient, and never made her feel less than she was. Eventually, she allowed herself to love again. Years later, they stood together, raising their children, her daughter and his son, bound not by blood, but by love. Life has a way of rewarding or punishing us based on our actions. Kindness, patience, and perseverance always lead to breakthroughs. When the time is right, everything falls into place. The struggles of today may become the victories of tomorrow.